Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and ITY video. I'm joined today by James Robinson. He's the Country Manager for Australia and New Zealand for HMD Global, makers of Nokia phones. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So can you just quickly give us the quick story on how it is that Nokia smartphones return to the market? And, I'm assuming that the stat that I read recently that Nokia as a brand is outselling a lot of its competitors combined on the strength of the Nokia brand. That must still be the case.
It's a really good story. I love this story, and I think it really talks to what we're trying to do. The executive team that were with Nokia love the brand so much. They've always been really passionate about what they do, and part of that is delivering high quality devices that are simple and easy to use for our fans out there. So they spoke to Google. They wanted to start making smartphones, but on Android. But they wanted to do it differently from the way everyone else is developing their Android smartphones. And the basis of that was the simplicity message that they had, and that quality message. Android's now in its 11th year. They're really mastering how to deliver Android to customers. So the view of the HMD team was to not mess with that, is to just deliver it pure, secure, and up to date, to make sure that all of those updates that come through, all of the security patches that Google make available are as available as quickly as possible. So rather than spending time and engineering resources on layering all of these extra pieces on top of an already good operating system, it was all about getting it to market as quickly as possible. So HMD evolved into developing Android smartphones. And there was also this really awesome heritage around the feature phones. So we launched the 3310, and that was great fanfare, and it was a really nice piece. We launched it here in Sydney, Australia. So
yeah, I was there.
Yeah, it was a really good event and a little bit of fun. We had the snake catcher out there catching the snake. So it was a really good story. So HMD launched a couple of years ago, and since then there's been some really good responses from existing Nokia users or old Nokia fans, and also a whole new breed of people that are looking at getting the best out of their smartphone experience. So we've had a really fantastic response to launching phones back into the market, and we've certainly got a great bit of momentum on our side at this stage.
And one of the stats that you've shared is that you're giving 3 years of monthly security updates, and that you've got a huge percentage of your user base that's upgraded to Android 9 Pie, which presumably, the compatible phones will at some point get 10 as well.
It's a story that is really resonating with users out there. We saw that the Nokia 7 Plus last year, over 90% of the install base at the time had upgraded by Christmas time from Android O to Android Pie. Which says that people are actually purchasing it because they want the latest and greatest. And that story is quite deep. It's not just about getting from one version of the operating system to the next, it's what you get along the way with that. So if we take an example of the Nokia 5, which we launched in July 2017, so 2 years ago, it was a device that launched for $329 into the Australian market. It launched with Android Nougat. And that was pretty good. If you had a look at other products at that price point at that time,
they would have had 6 or 5, whatever. But Nougat was 7 from memory.
It was, that's right, 7. So the competitors weren't there yet. But if we wind the clock forward, it then got Android Oreo when that was made available. And it wasn't just about getting Oreo, there were additional features that were added into that. So Oreo introduced the screen-in-screen, so you could keep watching the video while you did other things. Picture-in-picture. So the device got better. And then we've introduced Android Pie into the same Nokia 5. So the same device you paid $329 for 2 years ago is now running Android Pie. So that got all of the AI pieces that Google had there. So the adaptive battery all of a sudden saw the battery get better. So we saw in the devices in the office that we were starting to get 20% more battery efficiencies out of the device. So it's the first time that I've worked in this industry and seen the battery life get better in the second year of the ownership of the device. So it's a really, really strong story, and I think that's why it's now starting to resonate with so many people out there, that the device is getting better over time. So you now think about that $329 device running Android Pie, and that same device or a competitive device that you might have purchased for a similar price we don't know whether that was going to get an upgrade.
Yeah.
You know, it's questionable whether it got an upgrade at all,
Yeah,
let alone
yeah.
getting the security patches along the way. The other interesting part of this story is the security patches. As you mentioned, 3 years of security updates is really important. We've now delivered over 300 security patches to our range of devices globally. And the speed with which we're doing that is more than 50% faster than our closest competitor. So that promise is right there from the very beginning. The reason we set out to deliver smartphones in the very, very beginning it wasn't just an idea, it was a promise, it was a commitment to our customers, but now the proof's in the pudding. Now that there's so many devices out there, every device that we've launched in Australia is now an Android Pie, and they've all been getting their security updates every month. And the average in the Nokia 6 is 6.8 days from when Google announced it to when we made it available to customers, which is outstanding when you put that up against.
I mean, only Google itself would be faster because they're the ones who create the OS.
And they create the OS, exactly.
Yeah, but no, 6.8 days is good. I mean, the stats that you've got a huge percentage of people upgrading is, well, the proof of the pudding is in the installing.
Absolutely, yeah.
And do you know yet which one of those will get to Android 10, the Q?
So Android Q, which was announced recently at the Google I/O, we have announced that the 8.1 is the beta program for Android Q. So we should see that before Christmas being rolled out to the Nokia 8.1 base.
Sure. And I understand that you're going to bring back the removable battery in one of your models. Tell us a bit about that.
So it was a feature that was well known in the Nokia devices in the past, and accessibility is one of the pieces that we like to make available to customers. We are announcing the Nokia 2.2 will be available for sale from the 15th of August, and that does have a removable rear housing and removable battery as well. So one of the nice pieces of that as well is that you can change the colours of the housings on the back.
So the express covers that Nokia was well known for back in the day. Express
yeah.
on, yeah. And do you think you might roll the removable battery out into future models, or are you using this one to see how popular that concept is?
I think that we're always assessing the different types of implementations of battery housings well beyond just one product. Obviously, depending on what works for consumers and what is going to resonate, we'll continue to take it down that path.
Now, recycling is a big thing in the tech world, and especially being able to get a lot of the precious metals out and just not spoiling the environment with lithium or whatever it is. So what are some of the recycling programs that you offer to your customers? How recyclable are all the components, etc.?
We're signed up to AMTA, so the mobile
muster.
Mobile muster, yeah, that's it. Mental blank.
Yeah.
Mobile muster program. So we're part of that program. I think the other thing to factor in here is also the sustainability of the devices. So it's not just about the recycling.
But how long you can upgrade them for.
How long you can maintain your device for before you need to upgrade it. So there's an environmental impact, there's an economic impact as well. So it saves you from forking out money as frequently.
Phones have never been more, have never had such longevity.
They're getting much better. Part of that's to do with the operating system. The other part is our focus that we've had all along, which has been around that quality of manufacturing, the quality of the device. Nokia was really well known, and everyone I speak to has a fond memory around their robust Nokia device.
You fall on the ground, go apart, and you could just click and clack it all back together, and off you went.
We don't recommend people go and drop them
Not
on the ground.
Not today, that's different. Yeah, we'll get a screen
not by
protector.
Intention, but that's something that Nokia were really well known for in the past, and it's something that we're striving to deliver in all of our devices moving forward, is that high quality manufacture of product.
Now, I want to go on. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was also going to say that we're also a I don't know if it's a signatory, but being a European company, we are part of the
GDPR.
GDPR.
Yep.
That's it. You're getting me with all of the acronyms today. Thank you.
That's all right. No worries.
So we are a member of that and a signatory to that. So that's something that's very important to us, that we're delivering on data security and information. Recently, we've partnered with CGI and Google Cloud so that all of our customer activation and performance data is stored in Finland. And that's a really important part for us to deliver, again, that promise of security and efficiencies to our customers.
Now, Nokia has always been well known for the collaboration with Carl Zeiss, with the Zeiss lenses. We've seen phones out there, that do 5 times optical and 10 times optical zooms. You recently released a phone that had 5 cameras on the back. So what is Nokia doing in this regard to bring a phone with this sort of extreme zooms to the market? If you can say, you might not be able to say yet.
Cameras are one of the most loved parts of people's phones, and I think what we've seen over the years is the number of photos that are being generated by phones is just increasing exponentially.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it with the social media, more content is being provided on social media from photos captured on phones. There is huge development in this space, and our partnership with Zeiss is a great partnership. And as you mentioned, the Nokia 9 PureView we launched earlier this year was a great example of that partnership with Zeiss with the 5 lenses. Also a collaboration with Light that was stitching 5 photos together seamlessly to give some really rich detail in those photos. So the partnership with Zeiss is ongoing. There's some really exciting opportunities that lie ahead for us in
Watch
that
this space.
Yeah, absolutely. Watch this space.
Sure. And, talking about beloved Nokias, I loved the Nokia N95, which came out months before the original iPhone at the time. And it was, it had 3G, it had VGA recording, it had a double slider, it had all sorts of things. And I'm just wondering, and again, I know you probably can't say, but I mean, that would be a phone to bring back in some way, obviously in a more of a smartphone configuration. But, do you have more of the retro phones on the way?
I'd say that we've launched a couple of the devices that really tickled the nostalgia bones with the 3310 and the 8110.
Yeah, the banana phone.
The banana phone, the slider phone. Yeah. There's certainly an appetite for that. They've been really well received. So I'm sure we'll have other products in that vein to announce, in the future.
Yeah, no worries. Now I'll just get to my final 3 questions. I always like to ask about the future. How do you see the smartphone market evolving over the next decade? Clearly a 5G Nokia must be in the pipeline because it's just obvious. But what else do you see between now and 2029?
There are a lot of evolutions happening in the mobile space at the moment. You mentioned 5G, and that is a space that we're going to see heat up over the next few years.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot more content developed in that space as well, which will make it relevant for users. So I think it's fair to say that at some point down the track we'll be having a conversation with you about 5G phones. Cameras is always a strong point. Screen technology is a big one. Battery is one of the evolving pieces.
We want the phone that can last a week again, like the old 2G Nokias.
That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And we don't want to have to compromise on the experience of that.
You don't want an inch-thick phone to get that.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
The Nokia 2.2 is launching with a great battery life as well, and we've got products that we've just launched, the Nokia 4.2, Nokia 3.2. 3.2 has a 2-day battery life, so it's getting much better, and that's at a really affordable price point at $249. So I think we'll see a lot more development in those areas of the market.
Sure. Now, one question I always like to ask is simply if you could please share the best piece of advice you've ever received to help you get where you are today.
I don't know whether it's the best piece of advice, but it's a great piece of advice, is slowly catch a monkey.
Yeah.
It's one that I've always had to go back to because I've always been keen to jump out of the blocks, but slowly catch a monkey. And I think it's relevant for the mobile industry. We see some players come to market quick, hard, fast, but then they can also
and then they fold
suffer the consequences of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, look, that's the old tortoise and the hare. Parable, Aesop's fable. So no, that's good advice. And so what's your final message to our viewers and readers and to your current and future customers and partners?
I think that there are many great aspects to phones, and it's really easy to get caught up in the camera or the screen or the colour of the device, and they're all fantastic things. But at each individual price point that these devices compete at, you're kind of splitting hairs between how good the photo is or how good the screen is. So the question I have for everyone is to just take that step back and think about how they're using the device and what's truly important to them. I think the security piece is really important. I think about how I use my phone. I don't just access my bank account. I use it to make payments. I used it to make a payment to get here today. that is really important information in our phones that we want to keep secure. And then for the organisation or the enterprise or business person, they have a lot of information that they want to keep secure on their devices, whether it's the company P&L, whether it's a product that they're about to launch or announce, that product that they want to keep, that information they want to keep safe. So security is a really important element. So when you're in there and you're making that buying decision, you're in the store, you've got all of the pretty devices there, you've got all the specs on the spec sheet, you stop and think about what's really important. I think security is a really important part that we don't speak enough about today. Keeping your device up to date. And we saw that pop up in the media recently, that am I going to get my security updates? Am I going to get my operating system updates? It's something that is important to customers, and it's something that we need to think about. We don't often think about it at the point of purchase. It only becomes relevant 6 months down the track or 12 months down the track. But stop and think about that. And I guess that's one of those little bits that we need to think about, because it is relevant. And it's only when these things are potentially not going to be available that we now start to worry about that. And I think we need to ask that question more and more around the availability of the updates, how regularly the security patch is being put out there, because there's so much that we do on our devices that we don't really think about.
And look, people don't update their phones. I mean, I travel a lot in taxis. I'm forever showing, these taxi drivers that, because often they speak a language other than English, that they can bring up their native keyboard and speak in their native tongue, and then talk to their friends and family and compose messages. But often I see software update available. It's just there in the pull down menu, and they're like, oh yeah, no, I've seen that, but I don't do anything about it. And it's like, you got to do it. And
absolutely,
a family friend had 6 months of updates, and the phone updated 1 month at a time. It was a pretty quick update each time, but I think maybe Google needs to work on delivering 6 months worth of updates in one go, because some people think they've updated and think they're up to date, and then a couple of days later they get the little message again. So and look, the only other thing is that when the phone is at a good price point, an affordable price point, then it's much easier to upgrade the next year and then have that as a spare phone or as a family hand-me-down, or just to sell it and get the latest and greatest. And that's one of the other strengths that Nokia has. It's there's no $2,500 phones there that are not so easy to upgrade from every year or every couple of years.
That's right. Updates shouldn't just be for the flagship devices. Yeah. They should be available to all, and when we've made them available to all, everything from the Nokia One Plus right through to our Nokia 9 PureView, they're all getting their security patches every single month. They all get their updates. They're all on Pi. It's a really important element. I think about my kids now who are digital natives. They're using their phones every day, and just basic stuff, taking photos, using finger unlock on their devices. There's private information that's being collected about them that we want to keep secure. So the fact that I can give that to them, knowing that they're going to get their security updates regularly and it's going to keep all that information secure, that's peace of mind for me.
Well, James Robinson, Country Manager ANZ of HMD Global, thank you very much for your time, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Alex. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.